Friends and professionals, we are live yet again, and this is the week, man. Wednesday, tomorrow, the lab opens up for the second time. We're talking about realtors, we're talking about modern marketing, we're talking about how to leverage real referral partnerships in this dynamic digital age. If you are old school like me and cut your teeth building your career on partnerships with realtors, you do not want to miss tomorrow. I'll send you the Zoom link. Open to everyone in the industry. Come collaborate with over 500 loan officers who are just here to figure out how to get better in this crazy market. All right, there's the plug. Here's the content for today. Has the sales game, the game we all play, really changed? And the answer is, of course, both yes and no. And so let me just break this down, right? I remember talking to my dad, who would have to go out, and my original mentor, who'd have to go out with a sack of dimes. I'm dead serious. A sack of dimes to a payphone by the beach and dial realtors for appointments. This was the old school game that everyone played because they realized that they needed to get with realtors to find business. And so they would literally go, Kevin Buddy would go sit at the beach and dial because he'd get rejected all the time, but then he could go sit at the beach, look at the sun and the waves, get enough courage to go back and put dimes in a payphone and dial more. They didn't have cell phones, they didn't have business, they had business lines, but you never get a hold of anybody. My dad, as a title rep, used to drive around at night past all the real estate offices, drive around at night past all the real estate offices to look for lights on. So see if there are lights on in the real estate office. So he'd be like, oh, someone's working right there. And then he would pull in, and then they knew the receptionist would be gone, the gatekeeper would be gone, and he could go in and try to see who's in there working and introduce himself and build a relationship. Man, old school stuff. I mean, we're talking fax machines, driving files down to the VA in Los Angeles, the real old school game. And then you fast forward to kind of where I came up in the early 2000s, where we had MapQuest printouts instead of Thomas guides. And I could go down to the board of realtors and get the hot sheets and find out what open houses were there for preview and on weekend. And then I could build my MapQuest printouts house to house, and then I could go out and find them. But I had a Nokia phone. I didn't have the internet, so I'd leave and there'd be no email. But at least I was able to email people, mass mail people, physical mail, and find them in the streets. And then you fast forward to now, and you've got all of human knowledge in our pocket. You've got absolute access at unbelievable levels of scale to referral partners, past clients, potential business owners, the world at your fingertips. So much has changed in such a short period of time that many of you have lived through. Many of you have experienced this and had to adapt over the years. So has the game really changed? 1,000% yes. Where people's attention and focus has changed. From radio to television to phones. How people interact and engage and build community has radically changed from belly to belly to now a combination of physical and pure digital. COVID to me was such an accelerant to the societal change we were already on the road on in the late 2020, like 2018, 2019. We were on this digital evolution, and then COVID came in and just forced it. And so has the game changed? Oh my gosh, has it changed? And it's forced people to evolve and adapt, to change your strategies, to figure out new ways to engage and interact. But then I'm going to challenge you in the same breath where I say that the game has radically changed. I'm going to challenge you that this game is still the same. The game is a game about building trust, connection, relationship. That part of the game has never changed. We're doing it differently. You've heard me say this before. The game hasn't changed. The place we play it has. And so we have to hold both truths in the same hand, which is, man, absolutely, this industry is radically different. Consumers are making different decisions based on different inputs with different mediums all day long. At the same time, the core of what's driving those decisions, the emotional connection, the reasoning, and the emotional response is still the same decision-making human process that we've had for centuries, and how we make decisions. It's still the same thing. You read Malcolm Gladwell talk about Blink in his book on how people make instant rash decisions, not rash, but instant decisions based on a whole bunch of data going on in their brain that they built through over time of biases and viewpoints and paradigms. And so my conversation today is to look at both of these things, the old school mentality of how people make decisions and the new school place that people are playing, and give you guys some ammunition, some thoughts, some ways to retool your strategies to attack this new dynamic in the same old-fashioned way. So let's unpack the new space. Let's unpack the new mediums. We've done this on the lab, a few conversations. Man, there are traditional and contemporary mediums that are popping up everywhere. So we know the traditional, the belly to belly, the calls for appointments, the face-to-face, the networking meetings, the broker previews, the caravans, the open houses. All that stuff is still massively relevant to build relationships in your local community. Building the lunch and learns are actually still a massively effective strategy. Localized lunch and learns or think and drinks where you bring community together, massively powerful still today in the digital age. We're just using digital marketing to bring them there. At the same time, we have these digital platforms and all these social platforms emerging. You need a YouTube strategy now, a TikTok strategy, an Instagram strategy, a Facebook strategy, a LinkedIn strategy, an X strategy. When is it ever going to end? Punchline, it's not going to end. It's not ending. Just buckle up. You think it's ending? It's not ending. People were like, TikTok's going down. When was that? Like 6 months ago, whatever it was. TikTok's going away. Not only did it not go away, if it would have gone away, something else would have come in here. Do you think they're not going to have to learn new things? Wake up. This is the place. This is how the world has changed. I don't care if you like screens, don't like screens. I hate social. Don't. It's where community is happening in addition to the physical. It's not replacing. It's just a new medium. And so you have to evolve. You have to evolve. You have to show up in the places that people are. You have to open up yourself to learning new things and putting yourselves out in positions of vulnerability to create human connection, because that's the tie back to what has not changed. What has not changed, my friends, is that humans make emotional decisions based on relationships and knowledge. And that's how they choose who to work with. Now you have massive brands pumping imagery and consistency and repetition in their face to drive brand awareness. You have massive threats of companies that are very, very smart and well, capitalized, spending billions of dollars to attract attention. You have to play the same game. How do you maintain relevance? Connection and relationship. How do you maintain connections and relationship? Through consistency and intentionality. That's it. Dude, go back and just listen to what I just said. How do you build relationships and stay top of mind? Consistency and intentionality. That's the game. So how do you play that on these platforms? Show up with a strategy and intention. Now, there's nuance to that. Oh my God, there's so much nuance. Can you show up and not be yourself? Yes, because you need to put repetitions in to make sure that you can show up authentically. That's a real thing. I understand. You got to get good enough. Do you have to have a real strategy? Like, why are you there? Yes, you have to have a strategy. I used to have next to my camera a sticky note. It's not there anymore because I burned it into my soul. I had it next to my camera every time in 2018 when I got on camera saying, why and for who are you making this video? Why and for who are you making this content? Because how often do we see content that's absolutely garbage? Meaning you interpret it as garbage. You dislike it because it's somebody talking about themselves, their fast closings, how great they are, their latest closing, their latest listing, and everyone's like, this is not relevant to me at all. Why are you making this content and who you're trying to help? And if you can sit on that every single time, you can show up in these mediums in a way that you're proud of, in a way that is meaningful, in a way that is strategic and thoughtful and intentional. So you got to have a digital strategy and you got to have an intention and a purpose behind it, because through the showing up in these new mediums where the game has absolutely changed, you're going to do the same thing you've always done, which is you're going to build relationship and connection to the people you're trying to help and influence. I joke about this a lot, but you need to become an influencer, not the crappy kind, not the ones we all dislike, not the ones that drive us nuts, but people of influence. You need to become a person of influence who can help and support the people you're trying to do business with, the people you're trying to serve. I'm not wrong. I'm just going to keep saying this. I'm not wrong. You know I'm not wrong. The objective is always the same. The game that hasn't changed is this is a relationship game. You want more business, more opportunities, more success. You need to have more deeper connections with human beings who can help you and do business with you. Period. Get a wide net. That's the game. It's never changed. And we used to do it by dialing through the freaking white pages. You want to go old school? I know some people that used to literally open up the white pages and dial, baby. And if you're like, what are the white pages? Perfect. You're safe here. This is the world we live in now. Stop trying to make it something else. Stop trying to pretend it's not here. Stop hiding your ability to help people and put yourself out there. I've done several videos, last one on excuses. So I'm not going to dive into that today on why you're making up what is effectively BS excuses to mask and hide and not show up in a big way, which is fine. You're just limiting the amount of success you're capable of achieving. And that's saddening to me. I don't think you should. I think you can go get it. But you have to recognize the truth of the past and the present. The truth of the past is that the game we have played is still the same game. Build relationships, show value, be in service to others. Consistency and intentionality, build brand recognition, headspace, keep you top of mind. That's the game you have to play. And where we're playing it today, it's here. It's on social. It's on Instagram. It's on TikTok. It's on YouTube and X. It's on Facebook. It's here digitally. And it's here physically. I always have to come back to remind everybody that just because the digital now exists, it doesn't mean you should just ignore the physical. That is to your detriment. That is to, you will limit, again, your ability to achieve the success you're capable of. You have to do both. But Alec, that sucks. It's hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What do you want to hear? You want to hear that it's okay? Fine. You want to hear that you're going to be okay? You're not. You're not going to be okay. You can hold on as long as you can. But let me tell you the analogy that will make sense to everybody that's ever done old school business to business sales with realtors. If you've ever done old school business to business, what's one of the common truths you always knew? Always be prospecting. ABP, baby. You know what I'm talking about. Why? Why did you have to always be prospecting agents? Why? Because they would change, or their business would suffer or go up or down, or the market would change for them, or they'd go out of business. I mean, gosh, I had agents that I worked with for years that just retired. You have to always be prospecting, always be looking for new partnerships, new relationships. You guys know this in your soul. You've lived this. If any of you have been in the business longer than 5 years, you know you have to always be prospecting new relationships because you never know when that one's going to go away. You never know. And you can't risk it. You can't risk your livelihood, the success of your business, your family on a whim that everyone stays in business forever. So this is the same thing in these new mediums now. You got to embrace it. You got to dive in. You got to find your voice. And as you do, you'll realize that you'll be empowered to grow your business to new heights and new angles that you never had to do before. And in fact, I can prove it to you that people that find out how to leverage these new mediums and step into it and find their authentic voice and all the things that are the journey, that's the whole journey of this whole thing. It's not overnight. As you find the journey, though, you start finding clients who love you, people who appreciate you, a community who values the things you perform, the services you provide, and it transforms your career. So has the game changed? Yes and no. Absolutely. The environment we're in dictates the activities we can do and the results we're going to have. 100%. You've got to figure out how to maximize this new world, how to show up on social. The game has changed. You can't just ignore it. You can't ignore the mediums. You can't ignore the trends. You got to have strategies for all these platforms. You got to get stronger. You got to get better. Yes. By the way, inside of that, there's 1,000 opportunities because other people won't. But then you got to go back to the reality of what the real game is and stay rooted in that this is a relationship-based game. It's not about going viral. It's not about maximizing the algorithms. It's about staying connected to other human beings. Because through that connection brings opportunity, business, referrals, connections, success. So that game's still the game. Let's go play it in all the places that the people are playing it today. Tomorrow, Modern Lending Lab is open. Everybody's welcome. DM me for the Zoom link. No strings, just value. And we're talking about realtor relationships in the modern age. It's going to be a blast. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful day.